Well, hello guys, Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of Joe Boo Sports, as well as Joe Boo's day job and cooking and tailgating with Joe Boo. I guess we're all the broke-ass media. The one thing you can say about me is I'm always busy and I'm always working and always trying to think of ways that I can better myself as well as my community. And today, here, February, now that the football season is over, it's time for me to finally, after about 4 years of having the red brick house, be able to get started working on it. It's been crazy because I didn't know everything that was going into getting this red brick house. That I've done numerous houses in the city here, literally in disrepair, houses that have been vacant for many years, houses without floors in them, and have renovated them, still own some of them today in our rental properties and still look really good. I figured this would be a no-brainer, but unfortunately in dealing with this property, it was zoned in a commercial area because about 70 years ago, originally they thought the main street through the town was going to go through here. The city had bought up the house and changed the zoning to highway commercial, meaning that highway commercial this is like a big highway, and in order to have it as a business commercial, you have to be able to drive off the road, be able to park, turn around, and come back out, which makes sense. If you think about a divided highway, you don't necessarily have pull-in parking where people are backing out, because of course there would be accidents. Well, the highway never came through there, and in fact the whole neighborhood was still zoned highway commercial, even though it's all residential. The cool thing is shout out to the city, their design and planning commission, who realized there's never going to be a highway there. And so what we're doing is we've actually got the zoning changed. Hang on for a second. Had to take that call. I got a heating and air conditioning unit that is dead and has to be replaced. The big problem right now in construction wise is the cost of goods. Inflation is hitting. In fact, talking to the sheet metal guy, he said we were paying $22 a sheet for metal last year, and now it's $65 a sheet. And all of those things, of course, change the prices. The lack of having people that can actually do the work and stuff, and finding workers. Everything's kind of going up, but it's kind of relative because you get more money for real estate. So back to the red brick house. The red brick house, of course, zoned commercial. The city never built anything, and they in fact rented it out for numbers of years. They were at the point of just going to tear it down instead of doing the renovations and stuff from it and sell the land. Well, it's a historic house. It's 202 years old now. It was here for all of the last few pandemics, of course. It was here when there were only 21 states in the Union, and the bricks were handmade behind the house. It was here during the Civil War. So the history of the house, there was a group of people who did not want to see this thing destroyed. We ended up going to the city council and saying, hey, we'd hate to see this thing done. The next thing I know, the property has been gifted to me. And I thought, no, this is no problem. I'll get this thing done. And every time I've gone through to get the permits, it's because it was deemed a commercial space, and having to have the highway designation for parking, I'd have to provide 4 parking spaces along with the turnaround space, and there's not space on the property. We looked at trying to buy the land next door to it. There's a historic cemetery that's over there. So the best thing ultimately is not to disturb all of this, because my love for this place was it's a piece of our history. People are trying to change history and not show you everything and all that about history. Unfortunately, I think that's the wrong thing. You have to understand your history, all phases of it, the good and the bad, to understand how not to make those mistakes in the future, how to learn from those, how to grow and see what we were made of. And for me, saving this house and preserving it as much as original as possible has been important. So fortunately, the zoning has been changed to local business, which means it can be turned back into a house. Not a big change in designation. It could still be, if I wanted to make it a barber shop or something like that, I'm not going to do that. I want it to be a place where people who are connected, and believe me, a lot of people in the community that are still connected to the house, that they can come and see and say, yeah, I remember we did this, or I remember we did that. And to look and to celebrate the different eras of it, from being a schoolhouse originally to being there during the Civil War and the closing battles of the war, from it being the Masons Lodge, the Lee Lodge as they were called, to it being the house that the city's blacksmith lived in. So for me, saving something old has always been big. And today, putting in the application for the building permits to go ahead and get started on it, now that the zoning's been done, now that football season's been is over, to try and do as much as I can, because I want it to be a place that a lot of people will be able to enjoy. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna put in my paperwork. And the good thing about dealing with a smaller town, it usually doesn't take very long to get the permits and stuff. And you get to know the people that you're actually working with. And that's one of the things that I love about this city. It's, you know everybody, and, people use common sense. All right, see you inside. Well, good news and bad news. Well, the original paperwork that I put in for the house and plans for fixing the floor, they still have a year and a half, 2 years later, which is good. The only problem is they also now want to see, even though we're not going to be changing any of the walls or anything like that, we're going to be restructuring, basically repairing everything that's jacked up on it. We do have some rotten wood, and I've got to redo one of the roof lines over here over the kitchen. We're going to have to reframe that up and do that, but it's not major work. We're keeping the same layout. The only other thing that we're going to do differently is we're going to put another bathroom on the second floor. But other than that, the good news is, because I'm the homeowner, I can actually pull all of the permits for doing remodeling. It used to be in here that you could do that as the homeowner building a house, that you could pull all the permits for it. But they've since changed that because literally I've built, I think, 6 or 7 new houses from the ground up here. They're all still standing here, like, 10, 15 years later. And that's just the rules changed on that. So I'll have to end up getting a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC person to pull each of their permits if I do build a new house. So not the end of the world. It'll be easy for me to go through and do the layout. What I'll do is I'll take the topographical map that's actually in the city's database, and I'll be able to blow that up and basically put in there the lines in the new wall, the interior walls inside of it. One of the crazy things about this house is, because this house was built 200 years ago, it was originally, the original part of the house, which is 30 by 18, is built out of brick, and the walls are like 3 layers thick of brick. It's like 16-inch thick walls, which is crazy. So on the outside of the building, of course, you've got 18 feet. On the inside, you got about 16 feet of wall, so you lose a lot of space. On the flip side of this, the thing that's crazy about this house, we've worked on it, doing some of the demo and things on it in the past. I need to get past you there, buddy. You're blocking the street. We've done work in there in the summertime. The amazing thing is how they built the houses. Even though it's like 95 degrees outside, inside there it's still kind of like 80, 78. It's cooler inside, and the air circulates so well. I guess it was all the way they designed the houses back then. And with the walls being as thick as they are, when they get warm, once that brick warms up, it stays warm in there. And the same can be said about when it's cool. So we'll have a great time with working on that house. But I hope you guys are having a great day, and I've got to go over to the house and get some measurements on it, so that way I can redo those drawings and I can get into the city so we can get started on building the Red Big House. I'm Mark Holmes, and have a great day.